Don't let someone's 2 cents ruin your $1 million mind.
I love that, man. Nah, my boy, I can't be on your side.
Should have been.
Y'all didn't have helmets back then, right?
Yeah, well, we had helmets. Come on now.
He tried
Having self-belief and self-motivation is like very important.
On the grass?
I'm
Shout out to all the
specifically
hoopers
asking
out
which
there.
team.
Dropping gems, sports culture, entertainment from a broader lens. This where it all begins, and we'll be talking that on or off the track. The whole crew ready, it's time to drop the jack.
What is up, world? We are back with Drop the Jack. We have myself, Michael Hicks, Mamba Smith, Jordan Page, Darrell Edwards, and we have a special guest on the show today. She founded her high school dance team. She attended the University of Miami. She graduated second in her comms class. In 2008, she moved to Charlotte where she tried out for the Carolina Panthers and made the team. I heard there's a funny story behind that. And then she became Miss Sprint Cup.
True.
She loves to read, and fellas, she is single.
Ooh.
I now introduce to you Kim Coon.
Let's go.
It's weird hearing it. It's like, this is your life.
Yeah, what does that do? Speaking of that, hearing all the accolades and just how incredible you are, what does that feel like? What does that mean to you?
Feels like I've lived like a lot of mini lives. I don't know. It's
Yeah?
weird. Yeah. Like I have different like sections of my life that I divide.
What are the, like, okay, let's talk about the sections for a
Yeah.
second. Like, what would you call one section, and then, like, where do you divide it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily count like childhood. So like I grew up in Central Florida, but then like being at Miami, and then I did grad school at Alabama. You missed that in your notes. So like that section.
I didn't have that.
That section, and then moving to Charlotte, like I cheered for the Panthers, but I was working at the same time, so like that's a mini section. Miss Sprint Cup's a mini section, and then now what I do now is like a little other mini section.
You have a very
Yeah,
broad,
like chapters.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned the cheering side of it, but you're trying to, sounds like, I want you, talk about Little Kim.
Oh,
Young
Little Kim.
Yes.
Because I saw you like to be outdoors. You guys,
Yeah.
in Orlando, you out on the lake, you lived on the lake and stuff like
Yep.
that. So talk about Baby Kim.
Yeah, baby Kim. Lived on a lake, so I was like outdoors a lot.
like it.
Catching tadpoles and frogs. Like I remember me and my friends like fill our bathtub like full of frogs. I don't know, just like weird stuff you do when you grow up in Florida, barefoot all the time.
How do the parents feel about that when they come home to frogs
Yeah,
in their
they're
tub?
fine with it. They're fine with it. It is true though that people from Florida like to be barefoot. So, but yeah, I had a great childhood.
I was expecting like, I tried on my mom's heels and, I tried on my
I was
because at the
a
end of the day-
tomboy.
Okay.
So like I'm one of 3 girls and I'm the middle. So like I have middle child syndrome first of all. But I've kind of always wanted to be like the tomboy, like my dad's favorite, and it felt like getting there like was to be the tomboy. So like there was a phase where I was in like Umbros and like oversized t-shirts for like a good portion. I kind of grew out of that. That was like grade school, middle school, and then by high school I was figuring out who I was.
You say that, but I seen you did some modeling.
I did, yes, yeah.
So how'd that go?
It was weird. I was discovered in a mall, like a shopping mall.
Oh.
Please paint that picture. Like,
With my mom shopping, I was probably like 9 or 10, and this guy came up and was like, it wasn't like a shtick. He was just like, I own a modeling agency, and it's called Model Scout. His name was Ward. And I remember what I was wearing. It was like a mini version of, this sounds bad, but in Pretty Woman where Julia Roberts goes to the polo match and she's in that like long sundress with like the polka dots. It was like a kid's version of that. And he was like, I think your daughter would be great in like commercial and print work. And ended up signing with them and I did a lot of print work. I got a couple commercials. I wasn't so good at the commercial auditions. I don't know if I was like,
Was it speaking? Like, did you have to talk?
yeah, like they would, like you would go into an audition room with all of these like casting directors. So you're like a 10-year-old and there's like 5 adults and they're like, pretend there's a puddle on the ground and splash around in it. And I don't know if I was just like too.
there ain't no puddle.
Yeah, I don't know if I was like too smart for it. I was like, this feels dumb.
Yeah.
So I didn't get many commercials. I did a couple for like the theme park site, but I did more like print modeling work for like clothing and that sort of thing.
As a kid, getting into that early, what was that like? how were you getting comfortable? How did you get comfortable? Like, what was that like as a kid?
I ended up, my parents signed me up for like classes, like acting and like in front of the camera, like public speaking, modeling classes. So like I kind of went to school for it, like when I was really young.
So is that how it transferred into? How did that transfer into like the dance team and stuff? Like did the two correlate or not so much?
I think there was always like a comfortability in front of the camera, but I don't know that it correlated because I probably did that like I was again 9 or 10, and then would go on auditions, like have to miss school and stuff for it. And then by the time I got to high school, I was always a good student, but just academically, I was more focused on academics, and it was harder to keep up that kind of stuff. Plus, like when you're little, you can be kind of any height to model.
Yeah.
At that point, it was like, all right, now you're like teenage years, getting to like more young adult, and I kind of stopped at 5'5". And typically, like
that peak.
nowadays, like you have models that are all shapes and sizes. But you know, I did think like when I was really young, like oh maybe I'll be like a runway model or something, and then I didn't get that extra height
get
for
the
that.
6 foot mark.
No, I didn't hit that mark.
Is there pressure? Like, I mean, you're 10 years old, you got cameras in front of you. I mean, I even feel pressure as an adult, you know, with cameras on me. Like, is there any added pressure, or is it just fun for you?
I think it was just fun. Like, it felt natural. I think, too, because my dad was always super into photography and, like, videography. So he was always taking pictures, whether it was, like, landscapes or people. So, like, having a camera around and, like, capturing moments and stuff was just something that was regular to me. Yeah, so it never felt odd.
So I got to ask, you grew up in the same house
Yes.
your whole childhood.
Yep. Parents are still in that house.
So, like, were you able to keep the same friends? Like, do you still talk to them since you kind of grew up in the same neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I still know all the kids that I basically went to school with, because I went to the same school K through 12 and actually walked to school because the school was in
that's
our
nice.
neighborhood. Yeah. So the people I know from like my childhood, I've known since I was like 5. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
they have lived in that house for like close to 45 years. Still, it's gonna be a sad day when they sell it because there's just so many memories in it. But yeah, so I feel like not many people have that experience, that they grew up in the same house, they never moved, and then like when I go home for holidays, I'm in my childhood home.
I'm kind of jealous.
And they had the foresight to like buy a house in a neighborhood that ended up being pretty picturesque.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a nice neighborhood when they bought it, but it evolved and transformed into like a really nice old historic kind of Orlando home.
I gotta ask about Miami, because you were able to, so you cheered for basketball and the football team.
Yep.
Okay.
Men's and women's basketball.
Okay, so which team did you like to cheer for more, the football team or the basketball team?
That's a loaded question.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But here's the
It had to
thing,
be the
from
football.
a dance, because they were called the Sensations. So Miami had an all-girl cheer squad, a co-ed cheer squad, a dance team that danced with the band, and then the Sensations. So they were like a hybrid, kind of like an NFL cheerleader. They were a hybrid like cheer dance, if that
You
makes
didn't
sense.
necessarily have to have pom-poms all the time. Does that
We
make
did on the
sense?
football field. It depends on the dance. So this is
Right.
what I'm getting
Right.
at. So if you're asking what I like better, it's like
No.
the environment or which team was better. But from a dance perspective, you can do so much more on a basketball court, like technique-wise, than on the grass.
I'm
Shout out to all the
specifically
hoopers
asking
out
which
there.
team did you like to be around more?
She said it, man.
Our basketball team was really
don't
good at
try
the
to-
time.
Hey, she said it.
But our football
Basketball.
team was really good.
So you guys, they know
She
why I
said it.
asked, because
She's not giving you a direct answer.
Darrell's a big, he's a basketball god.
Okay.
And then,
Say that.
and
Say
then
that.
Juice, Jordan over here, he's a football guy. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure we understood and drew the line.
I like them for different reasons.
I could see
Our
that.
football team was more well known then. Our basketball team was good, but they weren't. Like there was a point where there was a shift, and it was like Miami was a football team, and their basketball was like okay, and they built the arena on campus, and then it like got a bigger following, and then it's shifted to where like our football has gone down and our basketball has gone up. So
Yeah, I was always knowing Miami for being a football school.
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I was there
never
with-
followed their basketball.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of their football players are some of my favorite players.
Which ones are your favorite?
Ed
players?
Reed, William McGahee, Clinton Portis,
2-0 A read. There's a whole
Warren-
song about it.
Warren
Yeah.
Sapp, Sean Taylor,
Studs.
Jeremy Shockey went there.
Yeah,
You
they
said-
were all. I'm old,
yeah.
so I was there when
Stop
they were
saying
all.
that. You're not old.
I was there when
Yeah.
they were all there. So I was
Yeah.
there
At the
when
prime
Larry
time.
Coker
Yeah.
was coach, and we were in the old Orange Bowl. So right at the end of the Ken Dorsey quarterback days.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey, I remember him too.
Yeah, it was right, and then it was like, then our quarterback.
I grew up loving Miami just because all the players. I think Michael Irvin went there too. They got a lot of great NFL players.
Yeah.
So you went. So you're doing the cheer stuff, but you're also second. Did you say second in a comms class?
Yeah. So I graduated in my graduating class.
Yeah. So
I was
when you were in
my class.
When you were in school, like what was that part like? Like was it hard to become second? Is it second nature for you? You know what I mean? Like how?
It was second nature.
Yeah, she probably wasn't even thinking about it.
I love being a student. Like if I could be a student forever and just be in school forever, I love it.
You love
Can I get some of that?
And I had an academic scholarship, so I had to. I mean, there was a reason to maintain it too.
Okay.
Yeah. But I made 1B like my entire undergrad and graduate career.
Was it hard balance on that? I mean, you were cheerleading.
It wasn't a hard balance. I didn't have quite as much fun as other people because Miami for a long time was known as like a 7-year college. I did it in. I did it in 3.5. Like I graduated early.
Oh, wow.
So I probably could have had. It was fun, but I probably didn't have as much fun as some people do down there.
Okay. What made you choose comms? Like when they asked me when I got to High Point what I wanted to do, I was like, what's kind of like the easiest, but I can use in real world? Like what made you choose comms?
I knew going into college. That's part of the reason I chose Miami. I thought I was going to be like the next Melissa Stark or Holly Rowe or Erin Andrews had just gotten started. Or on the flip side, like Christiana Amanpour, who was just immaculate when it came to world news and that sort of thing. And so Miami was one school that I had like circled that had a good comm program. So I knew like right from the get-go, that's what I wanted to do.
You sound like super passionate about learning, teaching.
Yeah.
Is that something you would like to do?
For sure.
Eventually it's teach. I heard some rumors about that. That's
you
kind of where I'm leaning on.
You got a little bird in your ear.
For sure.
I thought about, so I went ahead and I got my graduate degree, and you can teach like at a lower, like a community college or be like an adjunct professor, I think, with that. But truly to be like a professor, you need your doctorate. And I tried to, I was interested in getting my doctorate and was going to go to UNC. When I was Miss Sprint Cup, I was like, I can balance, like, during the week I'll go to classes on Tuesday, Thursday, and I'll be able to balance this. I'll drive to Tri-Cities during that and try and get my doctorate. And the closer I got to, like, applying to the program, for some reason they required their doctorate students to live on campus. I was like, what? I know. I was like, what? Nobody's pursuing a doctorate that's under, like, 25.
For sure.
Like, what 25-year-old?
I
don't know if that's the same, but that and I was like, I can't live in Raleigh, Durham, so kind of put that on hold.
You're a little sly. You went over Sprint Cup. That's a big
deal. I wasn't trying to go over it.
You were Miss Sprint Cup.
But what's funny about that is a lot of these guys don't even remember that because they weren't in the sport
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
They're like, Miss Sprint Cup, what is that?
I've heard stories about it.
Yeah,
so
see?
Elaborate on what it means, because I've heard it's a very big deal.
I'm saying it was only one woman that could do that? Or
There
was
were
it a team?
3 that were like at a time that rotated.
Gotcha.
That's big time.
That is big time.
Explain how that works, how you become a Miss Sprint Cup.
Yeah, so I think back in the day people are familiar with Miss Winston. So it was a take on that, but amplified. Miss Winston was just kind of in victory lane. You know, that ended up becoming what the Monster Girls were too. They weren't a mouthpiece for the sport. So Miss Sprint Cup actually was the hardest job interview I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There were so many different elements to
Run
it.
us through that.
Yeah, why was it so hard?
It was
More than the Panthers?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Panthers was hard too.
In a different way.
In a different way,
Yeah.
but similar. So I don't think people know, if they don't know the program, like how much we were responsible for. Like, yeah, we were in victory lane, but we did like TV and radio to promote the races in the markets. There was like a customer hosting element where CEOs from Fortune 500 companies would be guests, and we would have to be able to hold intelligent conversations with them. There's a social media part. There was a mobile marketing part, like an MC. So you had to do like all of those things in the interview. You had to take a NASCAR quiz, first of all.
What?
You gotta know your stuff.
What is
Yeah.
a NASCAR quiz?
It was about like the history of the sport,
Oh my
just
God.
things. I mean, I studied for
It
I
wasn't,
aced it.
it wasn't look pretty.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Smile behind the camera.
No. Then they gave you like a paragraph that you had to memorize as best you can in like 5 minutes and deliver it on camera. You had to,
I'm failing that.
you had to do like a fake radio interview with like a shock jock that was asking questions that you kind of had to navigate. You had to do a social media portion where they were like, here's 3 photos, give us a caption for each. We talked to the marketing team. Like, it was like a 6-part interview.
And you nailed all of that. I did 2 auditions myself. They were like modeling auditions.
Oh, nice.
And those are hard.
Look, that was
a runway. You know, that was my first runway show right there. But anybody looking for a runway model, you know, I'm available. But the pressure in those auditions are way harder than what I expected. Because they had me read a script, and I'm telling you, the script was like maybe 3 sentences, and I'm just like, do I got it? Do they really care if I get the lines right, or they just more so want to know how I'm acting it out?
Yeah.
And it was more so about acting it out, and I learned a lot more on my second one because it kind of was like a little course that told you what to do in an audition so you could do good at it, like standing on the X. That's a big thing. I came in the room and just stood anywhere. I stood right in front of the guy, and he was like, "Stand on that X right there," and I was like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, right." And I was like, "That's something I didn't know." I did not know that.
Yeah, with practice and repetition, but auditions are nerve-wracking.
Yeah, they are.
I'm pretty good at the memorization part, though. So.
I thought I was good until that moment came. I think I might have missed one word in it, but I got majority of it right. But I think I might have missed one word.
Yeah.
What was the hardest? I'm thinking about what was hard with the other things. What was the hardest thing about Miss Spring Cup?
Like the job? Or
the job. Yeah. What was the hardest thing about being Miss Spring Cup?
Oh gosh. Probably we did a stand-up. You and I have talked about this, and it was and I'm good at memorization, but it still was like, and it was on air. Whoever was the partner at the time, we would do basically like an intro at the beginning of a race, but there were all these sprint things because not only were we promoting NASCAR, we were promoting sprint. So it would have like whatever marketing deal and stuff that was that time, but it was like a paragraph that had to be memorized and memorized to the T. You couldn't just like
wing it a little bit.
Yeah. And so even though I never messed up, it's just the nerves of that before, because it was on the mic, on camera. You knew you had to hit all these different talking points. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking thing.
If you went back now, you think you'd do it better?
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you learn
Was
so
it like
much
the
stuff
unknown?
Okay. I mean, I think I did a good job. I don't know. Mike's the only one that was around.
I was like,
Mike, how good was she?
She crushed it. She crushed it. And speaking of that, because obviously you've been around as long as I have.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much pit road has changed.
Completely.
Like these guys are like from whenever we were starting to now.
When we started, it was just the beginning of maybe an athlete here or there being on pit road. It was it wasn't like you were building teams based on their athleticism and where they played college before. It was a lot of the road crew that was going over the wall. But there were probably a handful of guys on pit road that were former athletes. So it was really the turning point. But it was totally different.
Yeah, I'm glad you get to experience what I have.
Yeah.
The change on pit road.
The pressure's on, right?
Yes, for sure.
The whole industry was kind of different, though. We would travel in on like Thursday and leave on a Monday.
Which was fun sometimes.
Could have been.
Y'all didn't have helmets back then, right?
Yeah, well, we had helmets. Come on now.
He's not that old.
Somebody was standing out there in the middle of pit road with a sign holding it.
Yeah. It was rare to have, though, a former collegiate or professional athlete on pit road. You probably could count the guys on 1 or 2 hands that did that.
It's changed so much.
You know what else has changed is like the jobs that you've been able to do. Because you've done radio, and then you're now with NBC crushing it. And when I joined NASCAR, we were positioned together a lot. Like we had a lot of stuff together. I feel like I learned so much from you, and you've taught a lot of people here how to be a pro at the job, because there's stuff that you don't know until you're in it. So what are some of the things that have changed for you from your career? Are you doing what you love? Are you loving where it's at
I love
now?
what I do. And I think the biggest thing, though, is you can learn the sport, but you can't really learn how to be a hard worker, or it's hard to learn that. So I think my work ethic and how I treat other people is really what has gotten me where I am, because I don't know that I would still be around if I was hard to work with, not nice, was lazy, that sort of thing.
Speaking of her work ethic, because I'm on pit road and I see you.
Oh my gosh, with all my notes and stuff.
And she's so serious. For the people that don't know, when she's walking up and down pit road, she is serious, and it's like, oh, I don't want to say anything to her because she's got her game face on, and it's awesome.
I usually do. If you catch me and are like, hey, like shake me out of my tunnel vision. But and I also have 18 voices in my ear, talking like a producer and listening to broadcasts and stuff, and then trying to remember what I want to say next, and then just the nature of live events and how they unfold. So yeah, I look pretty serious on pit road. That doesn't mean I can't.
You
crack
gotta go
a
up there
smile.
and be like, hey.
You gotta be like, hey.
You look serious every time I
Yeah,
see you.
yeah.
The thing that's interesting, you said you and Hicks been doing it forever. Hicks mentioned something a few shows ago where he said it's about being like a good teammate.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you mentioned talking about effort, hard work, but you double back and said just being a good person along the way. So it's cool to understand like how important that is along with the work ethic and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
But
I think it's
with that
imperative.
being said, though, I have a question. If you had to tell a young, inspiring, because stories can go different ways.
Sure.
You modeled, you danced, and if you had to tell a young person who may think cheerleading will be the thing that they do forever, you know, what advice would you give them just being able to attack other things, not putting all their marbles in one basket, so on and so forth?
I would say don't take no for an answer. If you really have a dream, you need to pursue it. Now, if there's 100 no's and you're getting discouraged and you decide you have a different passion, that's completely different. But I would say pursue your passion with as much interest as you can and dedication that you can, because again, a lot of it's hard work. You can learn so many different things. That was the great thing about Miss Sprint Cup. They were more interested in the type of person they were hiring versus how much do they know about NASCAR, because you can teach somebody relatively
The history.
you can teach somebody a lot of things, but you can't always teach somebody, you know, how to be a good person, how to be a good teammate. And so I would say like that's a huge part of it. Don't be discouraged by what you don't know, and just be confident in the things you do know and how hard you're willing to work and how you treat other people.
Kim's one of the first, when we do media days and stuff, she's one of the first people in, like from talent. She's one of the first people in and the last people to leave, and helps the whole squad. And I watch that and I always feel like that means a lot to the rest of our team, because like a lot of people, they just kind of roll in, do the job, and roll out. But like she's always there to help with the extra stuff, and I think that goes a long way. So thanks, Kim.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a good teammate. You're only as
You
strong
got
as your weakest player. So
If you had to make a choreography right
Oh,
now
God.
for a dance team,
I could do it.
What kind of music
Oh,
would
what kind of
lead the
music?
way to that choreography?
So because I cheered in
Taylor
college
Swift.
and then, like I guess professionally, you would consider a Top Cat like a professional dancer.
Sure.
So heavy into either hip hop or like classic rock.
Give an example.
Putting you on the spot.
Like I love like when I hear Thunderstruck, because we had a dance to that in Top Cats. Like Thunderstruck, Welcome to the Jungle,
I like what?
Rock You Like a
Rock.
Hurricane, like all of the classic rock
the
is
classic,
really, really
the
good.
classic sports songs.
Yeah, the classic sports songs, and then hip hop. It just depends. It's like a vibe.
What's your favorite hip hop artist?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Kodak
Ooh.
Black.
What's that?
Kodak Black?
No.
Do you know who that is?
I do know who that is.
Okay, you know who that
but-
is.
You know who
Come
she
on
likes?
now.
She likes 50 Cent.
50 Cent.
She got
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We're
she got a
taking you back.
picture.
50's
Yeah.
good.
We
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that
Oh, I
picture.
You got a
did,
picture?
yes. I did.
What was that? Because you're a fan. Was that like, were you fangirling in the moment or not?
I don't really fangirl over.
I know. I
over
feel like you don't.
people. Yeah, because they're just regular people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
Like
probably
everybody
appreciate
at the end of the day, like goes home, hopefully to their family. They eat, they sleep, they get up, they try hopefully their hardest. So it's cool to recognize people's accomplishments, but I'm never like, oh my gosh, like nervous or crying or that sort of thing.
I got a question. You listed the names of other reporters that you looked up to, and you have found your way into that role, being a reporter. Have you ever like stopped for a second and realized like you doing what you dreamed of doing or you wanted to do, like you're in the position right now?
Yeah, occasionally. I think I'm just so in the middle of it though
Right.
that I sometimes forget I'm where I dreamed I kind of wanted to be.
Because that's
Good-
dope.
It's a good reminder to be like, wait,
testament.
I have accomplished what I set out to.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just again when you're in it, you're like,
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like a late reaction person.
Yeah.
I'm in something that's like, yeah, I'm in it, I'm focused on it,
Yeah.
but later I'm like, I really achieved
yeah.
that.
I do
really,
sometimes like sit back and think how cool the experiences I get to have are more than anything, more than like, oh, like I got to do
More like
this.
gratitude
More just
for-
like gratitude for wow. like I am very fortunate for getting the opportunities I have and the work I get to do and the people I get to meet. So it's more gratitude than anything.
Well, us at Drop the Jack, we're going to challenge you to, we talk a lot about being in the moment, being present. So us as hosts, we're going to challenge you moving forward to sometimes take 2 minutes, 1 minute to yourself to just reflect. You know what I mean? I feel like there's so many benefits to it.
Yeah.
You know, that gratitude is always present itself versus just being in the mix of the chaos.
For sure.
Because even if something's not going
that
good,
challenge.
you could like channel that to make you feel better. You know, like even if something's not going well, you could be like, but look at all what you have accomplished, look at this position that you're in, and this is what comes with it.
Yeah.
So you're
I
able
need
to
that.
like recharge yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
I need that the most because I'm my biggest critic, which I think most people are their own biggest critics. So it doesn't matter if I nail a report or a job or something, I will always, after the fact, ruminate on like, oh, I could have said this better and I could have used this word and I could have done this better and told this story or done this faster.
Yep.
So it's a good reminder in those moments of like, oh, I wasn't good enough or I didn't do what I wanted kind of thing to think like, no, like
Well, give yourself some
that
grace.
was enough. Yeah, like grace and like that was enough kind of thing.
Do you think, because you travel a lot,
Yeah.
and you like the international travel and going to like different restaurants and all that stuff. I always call Cam if I go somewhere about where to eat. Do you think in those moments, because it kind of correlates, like you're able to travel because of the job and the career that you have. Do you think that in those moments, like you're like, oh wow, like do those hit kind of together and you get a second, because you're on vacation too. You know what I mean?
I do, speaking of vacation, so I try when we're traveling for work to do one thing every work travel event or weekend that feels like a vacation. So either like go to a museum or a nice dinner or a national park so that the grind doesn't feel as heavy. So I think that's part of the reason I've been able to have longevity is like it hasn't gotten to where it's that exhausting. But your question's interesting. I do think about that, but then my dad was a pilot growing up, so the travel just feels natural to me. Like it doesn't feel, and maybe I take it for granted. Like maybe that's something I need to step back and be like, not everybody has this opportunity. And I might probably do take it for granted just because I grew up with a dad that was like all over the world traveling and it feels like it's second nature, which it's not for everybody.
This is completely off basis, but I just thought about it. If I don't bring up Jude.
Oh yeah, my dog.
Because Darrell likes dogs. No, he likes dogs. But
You don't like dogs?
He's like his own dog.
Okay.
He likes his own
I got a
dog.
dog. I got a cat.
I
You
know
don't
a lot
like
of
other
people that
people's
like their
dogs.
own dogs.
You don't like other people's dogs.
Okay.
What
my
kind of
dog's
dog you have,
sweet.
Cam?
He's a golden doodle. He's a redhead,
Okay.
redheaded golden
My
doodle.
mother-in-law has a golden.
Yeah,
She-
he's a sweetie.
She can train
I am
your
a
dog.
good.
She's
I
a
think-
good trainer.
I think in
of dogs.
another life I was a dog trainer.
I think I've
Yeah.
seen a pic where he was like
Yeah.
sleeping upside down in the
Yeah,
bed or something like that.
yeah.
The dog was?
Yeah. He's like,
What's the coolest thing that you've been able to train? Like when you train him, like, because I see your videos all the time. But like, what's one thing that you really enjoy watching him learn?
Or like you're proud of that you taught him.
the one that gets the most like response is I taught him how to like taste a treat. So instead of just like gobbling, like I'll hold a treat, instead of just like gobbling it down, I'll say taste, and he'll just like give it a little like lick,
Oh,
like
that's
taste
awesome.
it. And that like, I think that it's an unusual trick that not a lot of dogs know. And then people, when they see it, they're like, how did you even teach him that?
Wow.
I don't know how I
That's
did,
awesome.
but somehow I did.
So I gotta ask a question.
Go ahead.
You love what you do,
Yeah.
right? But is there like an end goal? Is there something that you really want to do and accomplish
Yeah. Let's
by the
see.
time it's all said and done?
Like within,
It can be anything. Like, is there
anything.
something like that you're like, I
Yeah.
really want to do this at some point?
I think it would be cool to have a travel show, like dedicated. So I did something similar. I had a show with NBC called Off the Grid, but it was motorsports related, and we did predominantly IndyCar, but we would go into a market and we would interview drivers and team owners and racing engineers and stuff, but then we would do a little bit of the city, like find a cool place, like an iconic monument.
That would actually
or,
be pretty cool.
I like
and
that.
so it was
Yeah.
a great show, and I would be fine doing it like a hybrid motorsports, or if it was just a straight up like.
It's
To your
like
point,
you
I
could
love
go,
traveling and
yeah.
finding the spots.
You can go to a racetrack
Yeah.
and do like some race
Yeah.
stuff, but
I'd
you say,
love to
hey,
do more of
this
that.
is something that we do here. Like
Yeah.
we go and do
What
this.
is it? St. Elmo's and
Yeah, so, and we did
like,
like
hit that
so.
spot and
So the
talk to someone.
500, I got to go to St. Elmo's with Joseph Newgarden. This is before he even won any of his championships, and so just those moments, because I think sometimes we try and promote the track so much, and we don't give people the opportunity to be like, hey, the race market's so cool. And I think that would drive more people to coming to a race if they were like, hey, this city's really cool. So yeah, come to the race on Saturday and or Sunday. But I think there would be more incentive to go to a race if it's like, hey, Kansas City is cool because they have this, this, and this. And you can do that, you know, on Thursday and Friday before you come to the track on Saturday and Sunday.
They have 5 bounce houses
yeah,
for kids.
Yeah. Or like around the Halloween holidays, they've got the haunted houses. Have you done those?
See, that's what I'm talking about.
We literally did that. Kim and I actually, we had this content called Trackside Chronicles.
Yeah.
That was fueled by Sunoco, and we did it in Talladega.
Yeah.
And that was the whole premise. Was a part of it was to show what's around the track. And so when you come into town, like, because the race is usually at 1 in the afternoon, right? So Saturday night or Sunday, you can go off and see what else.
So more of that, but like on a
Bigger scale.
network level, something that people.
The NFL does something like that where they show like the local food spots, or they show like what the community is like around the stadium and stuff like that. I think that's a good touch to like kind of give people an insight of like the environment that they're in.
Because a lot of these people are coming in Wednesday, Thursday.
I
mean, they're there several days before the race.
And it would open it up to a broader audience too, like maybe somebody that isn't necessarily a core NASCAR fan or racing fan, but they're like, you know what, I've already been thinking about a vacation. This city looks so cool because of what I saw on the show.
They like something else.
And like, you know, you end the show maybe at the racetrack and show that too. So just driving new eyes to the sport.
To show them like what their weekend could be.
Yeah.
Like, you can go here, and end the race.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool for sure.
So we have this segment towards the end of our show that is called Gloves Off. Okay? And it's a time. No.
My gloves are on.
Yeah, I can tell. She was already ready for it all day. It's a time where like we pick a subject that maybe is a little bit deeper and a little bit, you know, sentimental or what have you. So the question this week that I want to ask you is twofold. One, what is the best advice you were ever given, and what is the worst advice you were ever given? Because I think both are important.
They are important.
The second one's hard.
The second one's hard because if it's bad advice, I usually forget it.
Yeah, that's why
I'm the same.
Sometimes people have like were given bad advice and it fuels their fire into, then that's why they remember it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the best advice is easy. It's the golden rule, which was like what my mom taught me when I was little: treat everybody how you want to be treated, which I think is how I live my life. It's so simple, but it's like my parents are the kindest, most generous people. So anything I can do to emulate like how they have lived their lives, and that's something that they've always instilled in me. But the bad advice is hard.
That's a hard one for me.
We can roll back.
Not a bad advice, but somebody recommended the book, The 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
Do you like that book?
It was a lot of he read it and I have it too.
I did not like it.
Yeah, because it's
I did not. I know why you don't like it. Side, so not bad advice because I think you can read it and it helps you understand people that aren't. I don't feel like any of us. It gives you a different perspective, but the person that recommended it, I felt like they were like.
Mm-hmm. Line for line.
Yeah, like taking notes and like this is how I'm gonna live my life and.
When you think about it, it says power. So it's like it's not talking about love or peace. It's talking about power and control.
Yeah,
so it's like that's why it's so. When I read it too, I was like, I don't know if I like this.
I know, like I was like, oh, this. It kind of made me feel like I don't know.
It's like a book for like somebody that's going to war or something.
Yeah.
Jordan, what's the best advice you ever got?
Best advice? I've received a lot of advice in my lifetime. The best one, I would think, would be to believe in yourself. I think having self-belief and self-motivation is like very important because we can get external, validation from everywhere. We can get external motivation, but I feel like it don't click until you believe it, until you think that way about yourself. So I feel like just believing in yourself. I don't know where I heard that from or where it got broken down to me, where I actually got it. But it's like I think. When you believe in yourself, you can do whatever you said. Like you had belief in yourself to reach your goals. All of us had beliefs in ourselves to reach our goals. And I feel like somebody that can communicate that to you and like where it sinks in and you get it, I feel like that'll keep you going. Yeah. So I feel like that's the best advice I've received is just believe in myself, don't doubt myself.
What about the worst?
The worst?
Yeah, anything for the worst advice?
Like she said, when I'll forget something somebody told me.
Yeah, that's what I said. I try and forget. If you give me bad advice, I'm like,
I don't even hear that. The worst. That's a
It's a hard.
I gotta remember.
normal.
Yeah, I gotta remember a bad time or
Yeah.
something somebody said to me that kind
Yeah.
of like motivated me, but like I more so attached to the motivation part, not the part that what they said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
I think I got one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got one.
Okay.
Go
I think I
ahead.
got
Hicks.
So my best advice would probably be just work hard.
Yeah.
And if you work hard, you'll achieve your goals, no matter what it is. And I was sitting here thinking about it, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's worst advice, but obviously I hated school. I was not like her.
Oh, yeah. I love
So,
school.
so when I got to high school, you know, you go in there, the guidance counselor, and they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to get out of here. The quickest way. And she's like, well, if you do that, you ain't never going to do nothing. And I'm like, okay.
Interesting.
Okay. She goes, you need to do this, this, and that. I'm like, I just want to get out of here. She's like, well, that ain't going to work for you. And I said, I don't care. I just want to get out. So that's kind of, it's not like the worst advice, but it's
For
something that's,
you, though.
yeah, it's something
it
that
was
stuck
not-
with me. Yeah. But what do you think? What do you got, Darrell?
Some good advice for me is just to never compare. And I think I might have talked about this on another show, but it hit home for me because the minute I started comparing is when I lost joy for whatever it was.
Yep.
Meaning like everything was okay before I compared it. And it don't matter what it is. Like the house I have was okay until I looked at a bigger, nicer house.
Yeah.
You know, the car I drove was okay until, so just never compare, you know, and then also like joy comes from within. Don't chase happiness. Happiness contingent upon. Joy comes from within, which is something that I can control.
Yeah.
And
So
with
that's-
social media, that's hard.
For sure,
That's
for sure. In this day and age, you know, I feel like a lot of things is instant comparisons.
Yep.
And you get let down because you feel like it's less than or so on and so forth.
You're doing your own race. You ain't got no reason to compare to nobody. For
sure.
Your journey is yours.
So that was some good advice. And the worst advice, probably that cliche statement of the sky's the limit. You know, I've heard my mother say things like, the sky's not the limit, son, it's only the view. Reach for the stars.
Okay.
Yeah. Reach for the
I like
stars.
that.
If you
like
fall
that.
short, then you
Yeah.
land still above the clouds.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah.
That's a
I
good
like
one.
So sky is not the limit, it's
Yeah.
only the view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think I have two really good pieces of advice. One is don't let someone's 2 cents ruin your $1 million mind.
Oh, that's a good one. I need to write that down.
Like that
Dropping
2
the
cents.
jack.
There you go.
That because everyone's got 2 cents to give.
Yeah.
But like, it can ruin your good idea. You know what I mean? Because they can't see your vision. Your vision is for you.
If I had another one, I would have dropped it again.
Yeah. And then the worst advice, I think the worst advice that I was ever given was like, it was before I moved down. I was in high school and they're like, what are you gonna, like, racing's not gonna take you. Racing's not gonna, you're gonna do more doing this than you will ever in racing. Like they were talking about baseball specifically. Like, you're gonna go further playing baseball than you will in racing. Brother, if I tried to go play are you kidding me? Like, I was decent at baseball, but to make it to like a level like this, there is no way. And like that really fueled that stuff really fueled my fire. And you know, it's worked out pretty good.
I was about to say, I think I remember something. It was more of a, I don't know if you say it's advice, but it's more so when someone doubts me.
Yeah.
Or somebody try to limit me. I remember my college coach at the time, which a lot of people don't know, like I'm a football person, like you said, I've been playing football my whole life, and they were gonna cut me off the football team because the trial that I had for my team, I didn't have a helmet, I didn't have shoulder pads when everybody else had that stuff. So like because I got my equipment last, they was like, well, I guess they didn't need me at that point, and I was playing offense. And then I came back to my coach. I'm like, there's no way that I'm not gonna make the team. Like football, this is what I do. This is who I thought I was at the time. And he was like, what else you gonna do? Like as if I didn't have nothing else to offer.
Like unless
Yeah.
you do football, you won't.
That's what I'm
amount
saying.
to much.
No, it was more so like if you're not gonna play on offense, what else you gonna do? What else do we need you?
Yeah.
What can you provide to the team? And I was just like, that right there got me so fired up. I ended up playing defense and balling out like for the school, and I was happy that I was able to make him like revisit that.
Yeah.
It was
You got the
you looked
satisfaction.
at me and said, "What else you gonna do?"
Yeah.
Like you didn't think my limit was just what you thought.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have my own value to bring that he didn't see at that time. And it was just like when somebody doubt me, it's just like, oh, that's like now I'm in my zone when you doubt me. You know?
I like that.
I love that.
You're not counted out. You're counted on, my brother.
For sure.
You got a
For sure.
purpose.
That's right.
And Mom, I want you to go back before we close. I want you to go back to that statement you made about the 2 cents and
2 cents a $1 million
yeah.
mind.
I want you to reiterate that one more time.
Don't let someone's 2 cents ruin your $1 million mind.
I love that, man. And Kim, we're gonna close. Thank you so much for
thank you.
great
It's so fun.
conversations and
Yeah.
just tuning in with us. And it's been awesome.
I feel like we could
Appreciate
have
you.
talked for 2 more hours.
For
agree.
sure.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. That's what it's about. Well, thank you guys. There's another episode of Drop the Jack. Tune in on YouTube, NASCAR.com, and all podcast platforms. Appreciate you guys. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We out. Peace.